Hello, my friends. This is Crypto Tao, and welcome to the trading side of Forward Motion, where we will dive deep into the fascinating world of Elliott waves. I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of understanding the Elliott wave principle and making sense of all these financial waves. Whether you're a seasoned trader, whether you're just beginning, intermediate, the Elliott wave offers you valuable perspective that we can use in our day-to-day trading. In this channel, we'll demystify all these wave patterns, talk Fibonacci ratios, talk retracements, talk stop losses, and other trading techniques that the Elliott wave principle has given me. Um, but that's just the surface level. We'll definitely have like real world examples, do some trades, and continue moving into these markets with confidence. Um, Make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss any of the upcoming videos. All right, well let's get into it. This is Crypto Tao, and we're going forward motion this thing. All right. So what's the basic pattern? The basic pattern is a five wave movement. Simply put, we have this motive wave, a wave with tendency, with direction, with motivation for the upside, made up of five waves. Waves 1, waves 2, waves 3, waves 4, and waves 5. It's the most basic pattern. It's a five wave movement to the upside. Um, it's it's made up of five waves. The waves 1, 3, and 5 are your motive waves. Waves 2 and 4 are your um, corrective waves. And in total, you'll have five waves. In a complete cycle, you have a total of eight waves, and they're labeled as follow. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves to make one pattern, and then we have A, B, C to make the second pattern. So it's completely made up of eight. A complete cycle is made up of eight waves. Eight waves, including the five waves up and the three waves down. These three waves right here, A, B, C, are labeled in letters. That's your corrective phase. And your motive waves are labeled in numbers. So if we put those two together, we'll get a total of eight waves. And in a complete cycle, you need eight waves um, to make a full cycle. You're up and you're down. In these eight waves, we also have different degrees. What do I mean by that? These degrees, if you note here, we still have wave 1 and wave 2. That's your primary degree. It's only two waves. If you look as into this pattern and say, okay, let me look a little bit more inwards. Okay, and what do you see inside this one? That's from here to here. What do you see? You'll notice that you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five waves. That's your beginning basic pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in that same degree, we'll see your A, B, C, which is the corrective pattern. When we add those up, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total waves that make the first primary cycle. Once we go inside, let's say, this section of the wave, we want to analyze these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. We want to analyze this section only. From here, from the start to the first wave. We go inside a degree again, and we find out that there's also 5 waves there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at its third smallest degree, we find another 5-wave pattern. Inside inside, let's say, wave 1, we should also see another 5-wave pattern. It's this idea that the Elliott waves is itself within itself. In the degrees of, in the primary degree, there's 5 waves. Inside the intermediate degree, there's 5 more waves. And then if you scale outwards, the same thing happens. You have the same 5-3 pattern. You're gonna, whichever degree you're in, you're always going to have that 5-3 pattern. So when you're looking at, like, let's say, different time scales, there's a difference between looking at the monthly candles when trading and the minute candles when trading. You have to go to different scales. You can't judge them on the same degree. You have to change the degree, and this is just to note that there's different degrees of scale. At every, if we were to count all the little waves here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we would get a total of 34 waves. If we go even deeper into that, we'll find that there's also more Elliott waves made up of 5s and 3s. Always keep that in mind. When talking Elliott wave, we have to understand what degree is it that we're in. And we can't confuse the degrees. It's happened to me many times where we're like, okay, what degree are we in? Are we in the primary degree? Are we in the intermediate degree? Are we in the grand super cycle degree? There's different degrees, and we should need to make note of that. Here's an example of these degrees. As indicated before, we have in this small small 1-wave move right here, there's 5 waves inside of them. And in this huge cycle right here, there's only 1 wave, and this is wave 2. So keep in mind which degree you're in. I want to get that really, like, out of the way, starting off brand new, because the grand super cycle is your biggest degree, and then it goes down into the super cycle, primary, intermediate, all the way into the subminute. And we always got to keep in mind, in what degree are we talking about. Let's go back to the basic structure. Okay, what is this basic structure? Okay, we understand that it's made up of 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 waves in total. 3 waves going with the um, tendency. So if if the motivation is to go up, 1, 2, 1, 3, and 5 will go that same direction. And then we also have waves 2 and waves 4 go against that trend. Okay, what are some rules or understandings about these waves? So there's three main rules. Your first rule is that this wave 3 will never be your shortest wave. What does that mean? That means wave 1 or wave 5 have to be the shortest wave. These guys always have to be the shortest wave. 3 can never be the shortest wave. Rule number 2. Waves 2, and these are rules, we can't break them. Waves 2 can never retrace, so that means fall down 100% of wave 1. That's rule number 2. That waves 2, this wave right here, can never fall below this price. It can go up to 99.9%, but it cannot do 100.1. That's the rule. It's a hard rule. If it does break this point here, then we'll see that it's not a impulsive wave. This is an impulsive wave. It goes with the trend. The third rule is that wave 4 never retraces, so that means falls below the start of wave 1. This wave 4 cannot go below this price point. If it goes below the price point, then it might be a different wave. There's a lot of rules and guidelines those for these patterns, specifically like a guideline of waves 2 and 4 of these retracements here is that they tend to stop at the degree prior, the wave prior, at a lower degree of wave 4. So if you note, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 4 will end somewhere around the area of the previous wave 4 of a lower degree. Same thing with number 2. Number 2 tends, it's a guideline, it's not a rule, it's a guideline, that it tends to fall right where the 4 of the previous wave of a lower degree ends. Guideline. Another guideline that we tend to follow very often is that this impulse, if you were to write or draw a channel from 2 to 4, let's say you have a line going from 2 to 4, and you extend it to wave 3, you will know, or at least get context of where wave 5 is. That's a guideline. a guideline in which where we can anticipate a take profit. It's the it's a parallel channel. This parallel channel will indicate where 5 can top off. These guidelines are here to help you, give you context. And within these guidelines, this impulse wave, as indicated here, will always be made up of 5 waves here in this section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2 will always be made out of 3 waves, A, B, C. Number 3, will be made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 4, A, B, C, will be made up of 3. And your final wave 5 should be made up of another 5-wave movement with the trend, all contained within parallel lines, following the 3 rules that I mentioned earlier. The 3 rules is your wave 3 is never the shortest. Waves 2 cannot go beyond the initial price point of wave 1, and wave 4 cannot go beyond the end, the terminus of wave 1. As long as we follow those few guidelines that those few rules, those 3 rules, we can assume that it's an impulsive wave. And to find out other information, like where 2 is most likely to end, we follow the guideline of the wave 4, which indicates that wave 2 will end at the price point of wave 4 of the lower degree of the previous wave. Same thing with wave 4. It will end at the terminus of the previous wave 4 of a lower degree. So those are some quick understandings of what the timeline of what the impulse wave is consisted of. So we have this impulse, and we also have the retracement. In these impulses, we have a few types. We'll go on to them in a later video, but in short, I want to give you just a quick glance of what these motive waves are. These goes with tendencies, with trend, with the trend. Okay, the leading diagonal. So we already went over the impulse wave here. This is your most common wave is an impulse wave. There's 3 other types of motive waves. There's your leading diagonal, your ending diagonal, and extensions. Let's go over the leading diagonal first. So leading diagonals only occur in waves 1 or waves C of or waves A of a retracement. Let's go on to this pattern here. We see it's still made up of 5 waves move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just as the same here. But they overlap. I think that's the key characteristics in the leading diagonal, is that waves 1 and 4 overlap. That's what makes them different. There's also an ending diagonal, which only occur in waves 5 or C of a retracement. In waves 5, we see the same thing. It's A1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see an overlap in 4 and 1. That is the key characteristics of these diagonals, is that they're still made up of 5 wave moves, yet they overlap at waves 1 and 4. Let's look at the extension. Extensions are where you clearly see a super aggressive, impulsive move to the upside. You still have your original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but in this case, we have an example of a third wave extension of a third wave. So what happens is, inside the third wave, you see another extended 5-wave movement. And inside that extension is your original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll clearly spot these. These are very easy to spot because they just look exaggerated. These are we'll go into these other types of motive waves in future videos, but these are your basics. Let's go back to them. You have your impulsive, which is so this is your impulsive wave, which is your most common wave. It's made up of 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. The rules are wave 3 is never the shortest. Waves 2 can never go beyond the initial price point of wave 1. And waves 4 can never go to the end price point of wave 1. And that's your most common wave. And then we have these leading diagonals, ending diagonals, and extensions. Extensions can occur either in the 5-wave movement, in the 1-wave movement, or in the 3-wave movement. We have ending diagonals that only occur in the top, which is the number 5, and leading diagonals only occur in wave 1 of the impulse. Okay, let's go to the corrective side now. So we talked about this pattern here, and to make a whole complete cycle of the Elliott wave pattern, you have to see 8 waves, 5 motive waves, and 3 corrective waves. So we went over this section already. We talked about impulsive, extension, leading diagonal, and ending diagonal. These go here. Now let's talk about this section here. These are made up. This is your corrective phase. The phase in which you retrace this information. Usually made up of 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at your most basic common pattern of the corrective wave. ABC. This is called a zigzag. A zigzag. Why is it called a zigzag? because we see the first bounce here. This is your first A, a bounce B, and your final wave move C, making it look like that. Constant zigzag. It's only inside these zigzags is more information. Here, what's in there? It's another 5-wave movement. Inside the B, there's a 3-wave movement. Inside the C, which is this stuff, you'll find your 5-wave movement, making it a 5-3-5 pattern. That's the most basic, most common retracement pattern. It's a zigzag made up of 5-3-5. Usually, what makes this unique is that waves A and C tend towards equality. So that's a guideline. A and C make equality. Sometimes a little bit more, but most common than not, it's 1-to-1 ratio. Attached by this B, this A, B, C. If you notice, this B is made up of 3 waves. What does 3 waves mean? Anything that's in a form of a 3 waves is counter trend. Here, clearly, after this point, the trend is downwards. So these are considered motive waves because they're with the trend. This one with the trend. This one is a counter trend movement. So even within the ABC, we see counter trend movement, and it's always attached together. The counter trend is always met with counter trend. It's almost like the Einstein theory. You push, you get pushback. This is the pushback. This stuff is the pushback. So that's the most basic common pattern. Your zigzag pattern made up of 5-3-5. And a common guideline is that waves A and wave C are equal to each other. There's also different types of corrective patterns. So we have the most common one, which is our zigzag, which is here, A, B, C. And we have also the triangle, which is a 5-wave movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-wave movement, making a triangle. I don't know if you see this triangle. It's kind of a that triangle right there that's being constructed is also a corrective wave. Another pattern is a flat made up of also an A, B, C. But what's unique about this one, this flat pattern, is that all the waves are equal to each other. They're all the same length, creating a flat like shape. So we have your zigzag, 1, 2, 3, that makes this style pattern. We have your triangle, and we have a flat. 3 basic patterns. So let's recap a little bit before we continue going. In the section of a full complete cycle, we have 2 types, 2 core types of waves, which is your motive phase and your corrective phase. In your motive phase, which is here, 1 through 5, depending on which degree you're looking at, is just 1. Motive wave 1 could be made up of a extension, an impulsive, a leading diagonal, or an ending diagonal. In waves A, B, C, the corrective phase, there's 3 different types of corrective patterns, which are your triangle, your flat, and your zigzag. This is split into with the trend, counter trend. With trend are motive waves, counter trend are corrective waves. And that's all we have for today, folks. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate stopping by and trying to learn the Elliott wave theory. This is Kurt Otavo, and I'm very glad to have taught you the very basics of the Elliott wave principle. Thank you very much.